speakers together and the next speaker on her own in her own right at the same time. So I was thinking the metaphor that came to mind was that if you were traveling in the solar system to a planet, you would go via, maybe you would come to the moon first. So we're going to visit the moon before we visit the planet. And Vasanti Didi is the moon to Shamrani's planet. And she is effulgent like the moon as well. And I've known her for, I don't know, 20, 25, I don't know how long I've known you, decades. And her seva is not only beautiful and provides so much sweetness to people's lives, both facilitating Shamrani. Her prison seva is incredible. How many people she's helped in prisons become devotees. But also what's amazing about Vasanti Didi, I try my best to embarrass everybody when I introduce them. What's amazing about Vasanti Didi is just her mood, her natural, easygoing mood. But don't be fooled, that easygoing exterior is covering a very serious interior. So I'm really honored to present Vasanti Didi as our next speaker before Shamrani, who will be next and our final speaker today. Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you for that. Yes, you're good at embarrassing people, no doubt. Jnanatamandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Militanjina Tasmai Shri Gurudeva Namaha Panchakalpatripascha Kripasandhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasi Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I offer my heartfelt humble obeisances unto our beloved Holy Master, Nitya Vishnu Vishnu Padasota Sochi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, also unto His Divine Grace A.C. Nitya Vishnu Vishnu Padasota Sochi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, also unto Vishnu Padasota Sochi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, Nitya Vishnu Padasota Sochi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj. So thank you for including me, although I do feel very embarrassed. Very special day, special year. And I'm going to share one story that I haven't told very often, but since this is also the 25th year of Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, it's connected to him. So I will start with that. My first Kartik was 2001. And on the last day of Kartik, I didn't want to go back to America. I thought, what's the point? I have nothing to do in America. And on the last night, I was really, really sad about having to go back. So in those days, we went back to Vrindavan for the last night, and Gurudev would go to Radha Damodar in the last evening. And I went to Radha Gopinath before we went to Radha Damodar just by myself and was praying. And all of a sudden, the Pujari came and he gave me this maha and he said, "Give this to your Gurudev." I was like, okay, wow. So now I had a mission, So I went to Radha Damodar with the party, and I thought I'll go ahead of Gurudev. So when I get back, I can meet him at Gopinath Bhavan before everybody and give him this maha. So we went around Radha Damodar, and I went into Srila Prabhupada's room there first. I thought I'd go and then, go back to Gopinath Bhavan. So as I'm coming out of Prabhupada's room, Gurudev and all these sannyasi, all I saw was pink. Those times it was still Devananda Gaudiya Math days, and all the sannyasis were there, and they all come in, and so I got out. So the only other, besides sannyasis, the only people that were there were Rajendrananan Prabhu and Vrindavan Vilasini Didi, and I was feeling so embarrassed and like, what am I doing in this room? I don't belong in this room with these exalted souls. So I kind of hid in the corner. So Gurudev comes up and he says, Swamiji, your servant has come. And then there was a pause. And I was just like, God, I can't hear it, but Prabhupada's speaking back to him. I mean, they're conversing, And then Gurudev said, oh, what are you writing? And he looks down at the paper, Prabhupada has a pen, his Murti has a pen, and the paper was there. And then Gurudev looks. And then I go to Radha Damodar. It's kind of my, we all have our spots in the Dham, or like go-to spots. And Prabhupada's room is one of them, and there's never ever any Mahaprasadam on his table. Usually the pujari comes in and gives it to you, but there was a bowl of like sugar, sweets on his table, and then Gurudev picks it up and he fed Srila Prabhupada. It was so just, I don't know, no words, And then he went to give to all of us, and I was so shy. It was my first year. I met Gurudev in 2000. I was so shy that I was too afraid to put out my hand out to get the maha. But fortunately, Vajendranandan Prabhu, he got from Gurudev, and then he gave to me. So then we all go out, and we were walking back to Gopinath Bhavan, and I was in my mind, I had this like replay in my head, like, oh, Gurudev, I'm so shy to talk to you. But I have this maha for you. I'm so shy to talk to you. I have this maha for you, And we get back to Gopinath Bhavan, and there was like just Gurudev and a few people, and no one else had come in yet. And then Gurudev looked, and it was a mess. There was leaf plates everywhere, and he was so upset, and he was like yelling, and he's saying how the brahmacharis are so lazy, no one's cleaning up. And then he looks at me, and he's like, yes. And just knowing the heart, it made it easy for me. I said, Gurudev, Gopinath gave me this maha to give to you. And he's like, oh, Gopinath gave you to give to me? I was like, yeah. And then there were those like long, savory kind of sweets. And he broke it in half, and he popped half in his mouth, and he gave the other half to me, and he went to his room. So it was very, just so endearing, just so special. And he made it so I can then feel okay to go back to America. So another actually Srila Prabhupada related incident with Srila Gurudev was after the 2001 San Diego festival. Me and my best friend Krishnamai, we were there in San Diego, and then Krishnamai had this idea, let's go. Gurudev was flying out of LA, which is 2.5 hours away. Krishnamai said, let's go, let's go to the airport. I was like, all right. And we left her husband, told him to find another ride. And Krishnamai drove, and she jammed. She got to the airport, 2.5 hour drive in like an hour and a half. And we come in, and we got there just before Gurudev got there. Then Gurudev came in with only two devotees, Madam Raj Brajnath, of course, and then two devotees. So as Madam Raj and Brajnath Prabhu were checking in, Gurudev sat down on a bench. I think it was Upananda at that time, Avadut Maharaj, and one other. And me and Krishnamai sat at Gurudev's feet. And Gurudev said, come sit next to me on the bench. And we were like, no way, Gurudev, we'll be here at your lotus feet. And Gurudev was so sweet, asked us, how many rounds we're chanting and how it's going. And then he said to us, you are so fortunate, because girls your age couldn't get back in the day, couldn't get this close to Srila Prabhupada, but you can come this close to me. So that was really, really beautiful. Of course, I can't not talk about book distribution. It's very close to us, very close to Gurudev, who's then very close to Prabhupada, who's then, it's very close to Didi, now very close to me. Gurudev has said many, many times on his tours, every tour he would emphasize book distribution. And he said one time in Germany, I believe it was, or Holland, somewhere in the Europe Festival, he said, he would talk how these teenage girls like Sharmani Didi, Madame Valasani, they would go to airports and seaports and bus stations, and they would go everywhere, no shyness. And he said, they did for Prabhupada, why not for me? And one time he even said, if you don't distribute books, I think you're not really my disciple. So the walk books, he has four. We have Walking with a Saint series, and somehow I was in Brazil, 2010. I had to give something to Gurudev, and I went to his house, and Brajnath was like, yeah, just go in. And there was nobody there. It was so sweet. And we had just started working on his walk books. And I said to Gurudev, because I was the first person to, after other people would transcribe them and they would come to me. So I'd be like the first edit. So I would hear every walk, and you just feel like you're there. I was like, okay, I felt for me, the reason why he wanted the walk books was because the ladies couldn't go with him, and now we're going with him, And so I said, Gurudev, I know the disciple can never repay the spiritual master, yet I feel like I have to say thank you for engaging me in this walk book, because I feel like I'm there with you. And then Gurudev was so happy, and he said, yes, I've given so many important teachings in my walks, especially in Badger. But yet I wanted to touch on his Cebu, Philippines in 2009, because he was teaching the boy, his party, all these verses. I feel like today thank you to, inviting me, because I was meditating. Actually, I was dreaming all night about this. I think I was very nervous. And I was really I woke up thinking, gosh, I'm not following Gurudev's instruction of learning verses. Gurudev told me once in Gopinath Bhavan, if you don't learn verses, your mind will be like, your mind or heart, both, mind and heart will be like a desert. And I get really, motivated, and then I stop. I get motivated, and I stop. So I opened up this morning before I joined to the morning walk book, 2009 in Cebu. And Gurudev told the party, you should realize the mood of these shlokas. I'm giving you these shlokas so that you will truly realize them and thus enter the realm of bhakti. And then he was teaching them, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu Jagapate. That was one of the verses. And then he asked, what is Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu? And they're like, oh, it's, Krishna's mercy. And then Gurudev was saying, well, what mercy? And then Gurudev said, he has sent so many rishis and munis to train you. He is so merciful that he manifests his Chaita Guru, the super soul, who acts as Guru in the heart. He has sent Guru. Shri Guru came to you. This is the mercy of Krishna. So I thought, Gurudev went back to the previous quote. He's saying, when you learn these verses, what will come and explode in your heart. So praying for these verses that are alive. They're not just words. They're, praying that I can realize them in my heart. And then one more, when they were doing then they did a Manashiksha series still in Cebu, Philippines. And in verse 6, when it talks, that verse talks about the donkey of deceit. And so then Gurudev says, I'm keeping you all with me. I'm giving you instructions that will protect you from going towards that donkey. You do not understand right now, but this is the real fact. We are indebted to Guru. My Gurudev kept me with him for so many years, and thus he helped me in such a way that I can preach all over the world. Don't deviate. So Gurudev is, he's not different from his books. He's not different from his words. He's just so powerful. So that was really just so beautiful. Two more things I'll say real quick was on a practical level, but on a we always want to just keep this mood alive, and it was so much fun. Even Bajnath Prabhu told me that when Gurudev was coming to the West, Gurudev he had many reasons. One was to go to all the holy places of Swamiji, to re-inspire the Prabhupada disciples, meet the new people, and to have a lot of fun. So one time we were in Toronto with Gurudev, and Gurudev said ever since he was a little boy, he wanted to go to Niagara Falls. So then I was thinking, I want to, he was going, I want to go. So I asked Bajnath Prabhu if we can go. So we went, he said yes. So it was just his party and a few other people. And it was, they were in their car in front and we were following behind. And we get to Niagara Falls. It was freezing. Oh, so cold. They were walking behind Gurudev, and I thought, oh, this is my only chance to be on a morning walk with Gurudev. It was like 7 a.m. And then we're walking behind him, and when we see these huge falls, and then Gurudev turns around, and he sees Shamrani Didi and he said, oh, you're here? He said, you want to take bath? I mean, I think everyone knows how ginormous Niagara Falls is. So that was really fun. And then also how loving, how there's no one more loving than Shri Guru. And Gurudev, he met, all my family members are really opposed to my coming to Krishna consciousness. And my grandmother came the first time. She wasn't, my family told her, don't come. And I told my grandmother, we were very close. I said, if you don't come, I'll never speak. So she came, and I said, grandmother. And then Gurudev said, oh, then she is my grandmother too. And he said, how old are you? And at that time, she was a year older. I think she was 87. And Gurudev said, oh, I'm 86. So when you are 88, I will be 87. When you're 89, you'll always be ahead of me. And then she came again. That was like 2003. She came again in 2010, the last year in America. And he came up to her and he took her hands and he said, thank you for coming. And then when I took her home, she said to me, I can't believe someone so powerful remembered me. And then a few years ago when she left her body, it was so peaceful. I feel it was Gurudev's mercy. She just went to sleep. That was it. No hospitals, no. So, and with my mother and father, Gurudev also just so Gurudev's so heart melting. No, Didi wants me to say how Gurdev just said something in LA Temple, but also, okay, so with my father, he said, my father came in 2005. He wanted me to sign some papers. And so I tricked him. I said, if you want me to sign, you got to come to Gurdev's house. So then Gurudev started off by saying, oh, we are so fortunate we're sharing her. And then I won't tell that. So then in 2010, my mother would never come. And in 2010, I said, you know, this is his last year coming to America. He said this is the last year and he really means it. And so I'd appreciate if you'd come meet this person who's so important in my life. So she came, and then yeah, it was very embarrassing. It was interesting. She said, I don't understand why my daughter, who's a normal citizen of America and has a master's degree, would work for the religion. And Gurudev said, this was in the darshan, Gurudev said, you know, this world is like a garden, and we spend so much time planting and fertilizing and cultivating this garden, but at the end of the day, take anything with us. So don't worry about her. I've come to take her to the eternal garden. And then that night, that was it. And then that night in class, she didn't come to the class. It was in the Rose Temple. We used to have the Rose Temple. There was like 500 people there. And me and Govinda, at that time, Govinda Priya was with us, and she was doing the videoing. So everyone, I was sitting next to her. So everyone knew where we sat. So then Gurudev was giving this Bhagavatam class, saying, this is his like last class in America, actually. And he said, he was speaking about Vyas and how Vyas wasn't satisfied. Narada came and, you know, about, you know, have you told about the, you know, Mother Shoda binding Krishna? No, Gurudev. Have you told about the gopis? No, Gurudev. So he's speaking, you know, Vyas and Narada, and then all of a sudden he switches and he said, oh, today one lady came to see me, Vasanti's mother. And then I told her, and she was, and he said, and she was bewildered. And he said, I told her, you know, after you leave this world, you know where you'll go. And she was, you know, she was bewildered. And Gurudev said, so I told her, I've come to take Vasanti back to Goloka Vrindavan. And then the whole temple cheered. I was so embarrassed. I kind of like hid behind Govinda Priya. And yeah, that was really, I think Gurudev knew, you know, what nonsense I am, that he had to inspire me and keep me motivated to continue on this path for my whole life. So the next day I went to see 2 days later, we were going to Italy, to the Italy festival. And I went to go see my parents to say goodbye. And my parents are like millionaires. They never give me any money. And then they gave me like a couple $100 or something. So then when I got to Italy, I went into Gurudev's room. It was me and Sulata. And then there was Trunani Maharaj was there and one other devotee. So I said, Gurudev, my parents have never given me money, but after meeting you, they gave me some money, because they always thought they were always afraid I would give it to you. I said, so they gave me some money. So when I gave it to him, and then Gurudev looked at Trunani Maharaj and he said, Santi's mother came to see me, and I think she was somewhat impressed. That was really, really sweet. So my internet connection is unstable. Okay. I'll just tell the Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj story real quick, because I saw before Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj went to New York, he came to LA, and me and some of my friends, we went to go see him, and we went for a walk on the beach, and we just randomly, where we parked, happened if there was piers, and every couple, you know, like every mile or however, you know, they're spaced out, and the first pier was number 10, and we walked along the beach, and then when he got tired, he said he wanted to sit down, and that was pier number 8. So that was really cool. So then he said he wanted to see the cars. You know, LA is famous for the traffic. He said, I want to see the cars. So we went to the freeway overpass and watched, you know, all the traffic and tons of cars. And that was in LA. And just after that, then he went to New York. And in New York, he said he wanted to ride the elevator of the World Trade Center. And then, as we know, a few months later, the World Trade Trade Centers were blown up. So, yeah, I wanted to share that. Okay, it's so much to share, but thank you so much. Huh? Yeah. Shamrani said so much nectar, so little time. But thank you so much. I feel so happy to be with everyone. And Jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Maharaj ki jai, Maharaj ki jai. Here comes Shamrani Didi.
Well, Vasanti Didi, what's the backdrop?
Oh, yeah, it's a painting. There's one. Yeah, it's Govinda Kund. It was done by a local devotee here in Houston.
Oh, it's amazing, because I know you're in Houston, and I'm thinking, hang on, She looks like she's in India. So
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you for your thank you for your beautiful sharing of so many intimate and colorful stories. And actually, one of the things that hit me really hard, and I know everybody, consciousness is subjective, so we're all listening from a different angle. The thing that really crashed into my heart was when you said, well, later you said that Gurudev's words are non-different from Guru, but previously you also said that my books, if you don't distribute my book, then you're not a disciple of mine. And I was like, wow, that's really quite, that's quite profound, that's quite heavy. I have to reflect on that.